The origins of Roman civilization are deeply rooted in the complex historical landscape of the ancient Mediterranean. Located in the central Italian peninsula, the region that would become Rome was initially a convergence point for diverse tribal groups, including the Latins, Sabines, and Etruscans. Archaeological evidence suggests human settlements in the area dating back to the 10th century BC, with increasingly sophisticated cultural and social structures developing over subsequent centuries. Traditional historical narratives trace Rome's founding to Romulus in 753 BC, a date that beautifully blends mythological storytelling with historical interpretation. The legendary account of Romulus and Remus, supposedly descended from the Trojan prince Aeneas and raised by a she-wolf, reflects the complex cultural narratives that shaped early Roman identity. While primarily mythological, these stories reveal the Romans' sophisticated approach to understanding their own historical origins. The Roman kingdom, spanning from 753 BC to 509 BC, represented a critical formative period. Predominantly ruled by monarchs with strong Etruscan influences, this era saw the transformation of a small tribal settlement into a more structured political entity. The Etruscan kings introduced significant administrative and architectural innovations, including the initial design of the Roman Forum and the development of more complex social hierarchies that would become characteristic of Roman civilization. The transition from monarchy to republic in 509 BC marked a revolutionary moment in political development. The overthrow of Tarquinius Superbus, the last Etruscan king, emerged from growing aristocratic dissatisfaction with monarchical rule. The newly established republican system introduced groundbreaking governance mechanisms that would influence political thought for millennia. Elected magistrates, a sophisticated senate, and a more distributed political power structure that allowed for unprecedented civic participation. Territorial expansion became the hallmark of Republican Rome. The complex social system, which included intricate interactions between patricians, plebeians, and various intermediate social classes, provided a dynamic and adaptable political environment. The creation of the 12 Tables of Roman Law in 451 to 450 BC represented an early attempt to codify legal principles, establishing a framework that would become foundational to subsequent legal systems across Europe and beyond. The Punic Wars against Carthage represented a transformative series of conflicts that decisively reshaped the Mediterranean's geopolitical landscape. These were not merely military confrontations, but complex economic and cultural struggles between two sophisticated civilizations. The First Punic War, 264 to 241 BC, focused on control of Sicily, while the Second Punic War, 218 to 201 BC, featured Hannibal's legendary campaign, including his remarkable crossing of the Alps with war elephants, a feat that would be celebrated for centuries. By completely destroying Carthage in the Third Punic War in 146 BC, Rome eliminated its most significant rival and signaled its emergence as a true Mediterranean superpower. This victory transcended military conquest, representing a symbolic moment of cultural and political supremacy that would define Roman imperial ambitions for centuries to come. The late Republican period witnessed increasing internal political turbulence. Social reformers like the Gracchi brothers challenged entrenched aristocratic power structures, highlighting growing economic inequalities. Large landowners accumulated vast estates, while small farmers faced increasing economic marginalization, creating social tensions that would ultimately contribute to the republican system's eventual collapse. The civil wars of the 1st century BC represented a critical juncture in Roman political development. Prominent military leaders like Gaius Marius, Lucius Cornelius Sulla, Pompey, and Julius Caesar transformed the political landscape through ambitious and often violent political maneuvers. Caesar's assassination in 44 BC triggered a complex series of political conflicts that would ultimately reshape the Roman political system. Augustus, born Octavian and Julius Caesar's adopted heir, emerged as the pivotal figure who transformed Rome from a republican system to an imperial one. By carefully constructing a political framework that maintained republican aesthetic while centralizing actual power, Augustus created a new form of governance. His reign from 27 BC to 14 CE marked the beginning of the Pax Romana, a period of relative stability and unprecedented territorial expansion. The Roman imperial period represented the zenith of Roman civilization's power and cultural sophistication. Under emperors like Trajan, Hadrian, and Marcus Aurelius, the empire reached its maximum territorial extent, spanning approximately 5 million square kilometers. This vast territory incorporated diverse populations, sophisticated legal systems, advanced infrastructure, and complex administrative mechanisms that allowed for remarkable territorial governance. Roman military technology and organizational strategies were unprecedented in the ancient world. Legions were not merely fighting units, but complex social and administrative organizations. Each legion, typically consisting of around 5,000 men, represented a microcosm of Roman societal organization. Their discipline, engineering skills, and tactical flexibility allowed them to conquer and maintain control over vast and diverse territories. The empire's infrastructure demonstrated extraordinary technological capabilities. The Roman road network, extending over 250,000 miles, facilitated not just military movements, but complex economic interactions. Aqueducts, some of which remain functional today, showcased engineering prowess that would not be matched for centuries. Major cities like Rome, Alexandria, and Antioch became cosmopolitan centers of cultural and economic exchange. Religious and cultural practices within the empire were remarkably complex and adaptive. While traditional Roman religious practices remained important, the empire increasingly incorporated diverse religious traditions. The gradual spread of Christianity, initially a marginalized Jewish sect, would ultimately prove transformative. Emperor Constantine's conversion in the 4th century CE and subsequent elevation of Christianity as an official religion represented a profound cultural shift. The 3rd century CE marked the beginning of significant challenges to Roman imperial power. The crisis of the 3rd century saw rapid political fragmentation, with numerous military leaders simultaneously claiming imperial authority. External pressures from Germanic tribes, Sassanid Persians, and other frontier populations increasingly tested the empire's defensive capabilities. Emperor Diocletian's reforms in 285 CE represented a strategic response to these mounting challenges. By dividing the empire into eastern and western administrative regions and introducing a complex co-emperorship system, he attempted to create a more manageable governance structure. These reforms acknowledge the empire's increasing complexity and the practical challenges of maintaining centralized control. The final centuries of Roman imperial history were characterized by continuous adaptation and gradual transformation. The Western Roman Empire faced increasing pressures from Germanic migrations, with populations like the Goths, Vandals, and Franks progressively establishing territorial footholds within imperial boundaries. Economic challenges, including reduced agricultural productivity and disrupted trade networks, further weakened imperial structures. In 476 CE, traditionally marking the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the Germanic chieftain Odoacer deposed the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustus. This event symbolized the terminal point of the Western imperial system, though in practice, the transformation was far more gradual and complex than a single moment of collapse. The Eastern Roman Empire, subsequently known as the Byzantine Empire, would continue for another 1,000 years. Centered in Constantinople, this political entity maintained Roman legal, administrative, and cultural traditions while developing its own distinctive characteristics. Its eventual fall to the Ottoman Turks in 1453 marked the definitive end of the Roman imperial legacy. The Roman legacy transcends its historical boundaries, profoundly influencing subsequent civilizations. Roman legal principles form the foundation of many modern judicial systems. Latin became the basis for numerous European languages. Roman architectural and engineering innovations continue to inspire contemporary design. The concepts of citizenship, republican governance, and complex administrative structures all bear the indelible mark of Roman civilization. From its humble beginnings as a small settlement along the Tiber to its transformation into a vast, sophisticated empire, Rome represented a remarkable historical phenomenon. Its ability to absorb, adapt, and transform diverse cultural practices while maintaining a coherent political and social framework remains unparalleled in human history. The Roman story is not just a narrative of conquest and power, but a complex exploration of human social and political potential.